Hi, hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Moore. I'm the host of Testing in 10 with the English Language Testing Society. And I have as a guest today, Moroni Flake of English 3. And thank you for coming to visit us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Eric.
And I had a few questions for our conversation today. And first, I just wanted to, I know you're the CEO and founder of English 3, and I was just wondering if you could let us know how you arrived at this spot you're in right now. A good spot, I should say.
Great spot. I love it. I love what I do. So, my entire family is in education. And so I've always been close to the space. And in college, I interned with a group in Guatemala. And there we taught English to kind of the poorest of the poor, essentially. So the group that we worked with, they earned about $25 a month on average before they came into the program. And then 4 months later, we placed 98% of them into middle income jobs, and where they made on average about $420. So about 20 times what they were making previously. And what it did is it pulled a family out of generational poverty. And last year, that organization just had their 20,000th graduate. And I saw the change that came for those individuals through that experience, and knew that this is kind of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, that international education has a tremendous power to transform lives, and on a macro level and on a very individual level as well. And I just fell in love with the space, and I kind of took a roundabout journey to get here. English 3 was involved in that at the time, and we're still involved with those organizations, and we do a lot of testing, and then also provide pedagogical support there as well. And that's been something that's important to us. Our mission is really to increase the accessibility and affordability of education. And, it's a mission that I really buy into, something that I get excited to do each day. Prior to coming to English 3, I kind of went on I went into consulting. I went into some private equity consulting, and just wasn't quite as passionate about it. I have the Sunday evening blues where I get excited, where you kind of have a pit in your stomach and you're just not excited to go to work the next day. And so, I jumped into making no money at English 3, and have loved it ever since. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got here.
Oh, that's fantastic. Getting rid of that pit in the stomach on Sundays is a very, very important thing. I agree. That's great. It sounds like a wonderful outcome for you and for the people you work with. Let me swivel over to COVID. How has COVID affected what you do?
Yeah, it's really had an interesting impact on the business, depending on the product line. So most of our assessments are for our J1 exchange visitors. And COVID essentially took out that side of the business. So very few exchange visitors continued to come through. Still to this day, we get very few exchange visitors. And so there's the J1 interview, which is one product. And then the other product that we have currently is called the English 3 proficiency test. We're about to revamp that and release a new version of that test called Gateway. It will maintain many of the previous aspects of the English 3 proficiency test, but kind of a rebuilt from scratch. And we intended to release this test in late 2020. And COVID and the impacts from COVID and the way that it affected the business, we kind of had to delay some of those things. But it turned into a real positive, because we were able to reassess some of the item types, the question types that we're going to include in the test. We were able to introduce some new ones, introduce some new technology into the system. And so, I believe that the assessment that will come forward is going to be the most valid, maintain the highest level of validity of any assessment we've been able to provide to this point. And we're really excited about it.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. That leads to my next question, which is a bit of a tricky question for you here. When will studying, learning, and especially in this case, testing and assessment, when will it be better online or through technology than it is in person, would you say? Or is it already?
That's a tricky question, and I come from multiple perspectives. And so, with our education piece with English 3, we've always maintained a blended learning approach. So there are certain things that happen better in the quiet space of interacting on a computer and working on a computer. And then there are certain things that are much better with in-person instruction. And so we kind of take, at English 3, we take a flipped learning approach or a flipped classroom approach. This is something that, I watched my wife as a 6th grade teacher do and have tremendous success with math. And there's just certain things that some students, they need that time, that space to feel comfortable going through a concept over and over and over again until they get to a space where they're comfortable and they can confidently bring that to an interaction. And so it's certainly the case with English proficiency instruction. And so, yeah, there's definitely that element to it. And so I wouldn't say that it would replace an in-person, but I think that its ability to augment in-person instruction more frequently and in better ways will continue to improve over time.
I know in my experience of, teaching and administrating programs and being around them, that what I've seen with teachers and the technology they've used is really, I agree 100% that it's really made the learning experience much more authentic, I believe, with videos and things like that. That's great. As related to that, like say 10 years down the road here, where do you think we'll be? Will the technology continue to, evolve to even better? Will we have lots of VR in the classrooms, et cetera?
Yeah, good question. So I think that, for specifically the testing space, because that's where we focus now, is I would say that the ideal is simulating an environment with a high level of fidelity in which the environment in which students will be expected to perform. So, for example, if we look at our gateway test, which is used for admissions to universities, we want to assess, okay, is this person prepared to succeed in a classroom environment? Are they prepared to succeed in group discussions and generally be able to function on campus and in the community? And so what we try to do, and this is something that I think is unique to English 3, because we were kind of born in the online environment. We never had a paper test. And so we were able to think from first principles, what do we want this test to look like? And all of these tests that we've developed. And so for us, it's different item types. It's a little bit unique and different in the way that we ask many of our questions. And so what we try to do is we try to be as authentic to that environment as possible. So we simulate it through videos and recordings. We put the student, so they'll, one item type is they'll listen to a professor as if they're in the classroom. And then the professor asks a question, and there they are on camera in real time, providing an open-ended response to that question. They're able to either perform or they're not. Similar thing with a group discussion. They're having a group discussion, they hear different opinions, and then they're asked to offer their opinion in real time, open-ended response. And so we're trying to simulate those environments, those types of questions also provide an added measure of security. It's hard to game or cheat those types of questions because you're on camera, you don't know the question that's coming, and you can either respond or you can't respond, and that becomes readily visible to the proctor and the rater, who will then assess the test. So for us, that's kind of the direction that we're going. Is we're consistently striving toward the ideal, which is high fidelity to that actual environment that they will be performing in. And I don't know when we get there. I don't know if VR, maybe VR becomes the method through which we are able to fully effectively do that. But for example, if we're looking at a student that's going to be in an online classroom, which most students have some sort of online component to their education, then we can simulate that now. Like we can give them that experience now. And I think that we do a pretty good job of doing that. And I think that as other assessments move online, the kind of thinking from first principles and going back to how can we create an environment that is as valid as we can make it, And that really takes some creativity to work through new and innovative item types.
Oh, sounds very, very interesting. I think the students of the future are going to enjoy their test experiences, or maybe nobody really enjoys their test experience that much, but I think they're going to enjoy it a lot more than students would have 10 years ago or even today. That sounds fantastic.
Well, let me just jump in on that. I mean, I have a 3-year-old son, and I'm watching him learn and grow. And as he's going, when he is in his best environment, he is guiding his education, and he's playing essentially as he's learning. So it's not feeling like a rote or robotic experience. And that's really how we should be able to make our education, is we should give more autonomy, more control over to the learner in a guided, facilitated experience.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Well, I appreciate your time, Moroni Flake. It's been a CEO of founder of English 3. It's been a pleasure having you here. This talk today was sponsored by 𝗙𝗙𝗢𝗪, so I'd like to say thank you to 𝗙𝗙𝗪 also. And thanks again for your time. And it was wonderful chatting with you today.
Yeah. Thank you. My pleasure, Eric.
Thanks.